Our planet is now in the grip of climate change. As a consequence, the Arabian Desert, scorching, exposed to drying winds, has become one of the hottest spots on the globe. Faced with this extreme climate, people must learn to live in this region, where temperatures continue to rise.
The highest recorded temperature in this desert can reach up to 50 degrees Celsius.
The United Arab Emirates is a territory on the Arabian Peninsula covered in sand dunes. Hostile, hyper-arid, this desert is the greatest natural challenge facing the country. An extreme land that man is trying to tame.
We don't have much water, so we have to use it sparingly. This canal system will enable us to irrigate plot by plot.
Water is a rare resource in one of the hottest lands on the planet, one preserved at all costs.
So that's why they are keeping this water just to prevent the groundwater from the evaporation.
But this desert could become a real danger to man. The sandstorms are so violent, they threaten the stability of Dubai's tallest towers.
When the wind hits it, it moves. So the building design had to cope with that wind pressure.
Now Emiratis are acting to defy nature and provoke rain to fall.
So we could produce 1,000 heads of lettuce per day.
Since we don't spray any pesticides,
we could grow a lot of varieties that were never available in this part of the world.
And others who are building a more ecological future. An hour's drive to the east of Dubai, in the Emirate of Sharjah, is an ocean of sand. The Rub al Khali Desert. It is one of the world's biggest deserts, an extreme land. This arid expanse appears hostile to all forms of life. An immense amount of sand that covers 85% of the territory of the United Arab Emirates. The landscape could be Martian. This desert, larger than California, lives up to its name. In Arabic, Rub al Khali means the empty quarter. Here, the layer of sand can reach a depth of 200 meters. Burning hot, exposed to a blazing sun, it's one of the 10 driest places on the planet. Alanud Mohammed Al-Ali is a researcher at UAEU Department of Geology. This geologist studies the origins and evolution of this desert.
This desert was born more than 100,000 years ago, when the Arabian Gulf was dry through the glacial periods. Most of the sand comes from the Zagros mountain, and the other source was the Arabian Shield.
These millions of grains of sand have migrated from the mountains of Iraq and Iran to form the Rub al Khali dunes. Today, it's one of the hottest spots on the globe.
The climate in this desert is mainly hot and dry, with the sunshine throughout the year, with a very little rainfall yearly. The rainfall in this desert reaches around 100 millimeters. In the most of the driest areas of this desert, it decreases up to 30 and 40 millimeters a year.
Though it does sometimes rain in the Emirates desert, the rarity and scarcity of precipitation make it difficult for all forms of life. In this region, devoid of vegetation, extreme drought reigns. This arid climate is directly linked to the formation of clouds around the equator. Above the clouds, the air is dry. It is distributed to the north and south of the planet. When it falls hundreds of kilometers to the north, This air exerts pressure on the warm air from the Rub al Khali Desert, preventing it from rising and forming large clouds. In this desert of the Emirates, the solar radiation is almost permanent. The duration of sunshine is 3,400 hours per year. That's 9 hours per day. The grains of sand on the ground aren't all the same color. Though some are yellow, others are darker, with an orange or even red tint.
These sandy grains are composed of silica and feldspar, and they are coated with iron oxide, and they are a resultant of an existent rocks. They break down through weathering processes into small pieces, and it changed the big source rock into very small pieces of sand.
These grains of sand come from desert rocks crumbling, a meteorological process known as thermoclastics.
The thermal differences have the most effect on these rocks. In the daytime, the crystals start to expand, and in the time, during the night, they contract. And by that, they break down into smaller pieces, and they end up to be these sandy grains.
Although temperatures during the day can reach 50 degrees Celsius, when night falls, they fall sharply. This dramatic change is explained by the composition of the grains of sand. Made up of silicate, they don't store the heat built up during the day. When night falls, this heat dissipates. In the absence of clouds, the warm air emitted by the ground is sent directly back to space. Faced with such a hostile environment, it would seem that no life was possible in this desert. Yet man has managed to overcome the difficulties imposed by this extreme climate. That's the case in Al Ain, one of the last palm groves in the country. It is to the east of the Emirates. This unique spot is one of the last natural oases that resists the desert's aridity. Al Ain means spring in Arabic, the water source at the origin of this island of life. Located a few hundred meters under the sand, this blue gold, a rare and precious resource in the region, comes from a vast natural reservoir, an aquifer. But how were these farming lands born at the heart of the desert? Valérie Amy has been a guide in the United Arab Emirates for more than 15 years.
At first, man will spot that there are trees growing, in particular date palms, for example, at a certain spot. So he suspects the presence of water. From then on, he digs a well, and if he's lucky, finds the water table, works out the size of the water table, and if it's sufficient, decides to settle. Once the oasis is created and the irrigation network set up, then the water can be managed intelligently.
The peoples of the Arabian Peninsula tamed the desert some 5,000 years ago. Thanks to this ingenious water distribution system, man has been able to farm this sandy soil. Today, in Al Ain, this ancient network of canals circulates water from the spring through gravity, forming a labyrinth over 550 kilometers long.
From the aquifer, the water comes down to these canals that we call fallages in Arabic. And this system of canals will enable us to irrigate plot by plot. Water is scarce here, so we must use it sparingly. We let the water flow through until the last field at the end of the chain, and then gradually shut off the taps as the fields are irrigated. Back then, they'd make plugs with stones. They take the fibre from palm trees, then put stones on it to block part of the fallage, so they could irrigate the other parts.
Today, the old plugs made from stones and palm fibre have been replaced by planks. The fields are irrigated by gravity. The water flows into the fallage.
All we do is lift.
Et voilà.
And we'll irrigate this plot on our right.
At the Al Ain Palm Grove, there are more than 150,000 date palms. These palms play the role of protector at all levels of this ecosystem. By forming a canopy, they protect everything growing at the oasis from the wind and the burning sun. These palms also allow forage plants to grow on the ground, vital food that allows animals to survive in the desert. Though man tries to preserve these little green paradises and these agricultural zones, the rising temperatures and lack of precipitation weaken these natural oases. But the UAE have to face another threat. Periods of drought are getting longer. In recent years, the desert has expanded more than ever. Bad news for this country, where almost the entire territory is covered by a thick layer of grains of sand. Though this desert may appear calm, almost timeless, it only takes a gust of wind for it to show how it can endanger the local population. Residents of the Emirates live under constant threat of sandstorms. At the root of this increasingly frequent phenomenon is the interaction between the wind and the tiny grains of sand.
These sand dunes are formed by the movement of the sand particles by the winds, and the sand grains they roll up over each other because of their small size. So as you can see there, this avalanche is the startup for forming a new dune. So if you notice, the desert is always in motion, and the sandy grains are moving from one sand dune to another, and the sand grains are colliding with each other and rolling up from the crest to the bottom to the next crest, and that makes this desert move from one place to another.
In the Rub al-Khali Desert, the wind forms dunes that can reach 300 meters in height. In a few hours, these dunes can shift and the landscape changes. As long as the wind isn't violent, this perpetually moving desert which surrounds the cities isn't a threat. However, if a particularly strong wind races over these dunes, it can make the whole country suffer.
The speed of the winds in this desert can reach up to 130 kilometers per hour. So at that point, a sandstorm is easily formed, and then it becomes a real threat for us.
Still rare a few decades ago, sandstorms are more and more frequent. This meteorological phenomenon is as dramatic as it is devastating. Visibility drops to almost zero. Strong winds sweep everything in their path. These storms leave cities with an apocalyptic landscape. Storms are a constant threat. When the wind blows at over 130 kilometers per hour, it lifts big grains of sand. As they fall, the heavier grains cause dust particles to fly off. This sand dust is swept into the air and forms a very dense cloud. Pushed by the wind, this cloud of particles expands as it travels until it becomes a gigantic wall of sand. Surrounded by desert, Dubai is the Emirate city most exposed to sandstorms and high winds. These extreme climatic phenomena represent a real architectural challenge in this extravagant city of 300 skyscrapers. At the heart of Dubai is the Burj Khalifa. At 830 meters, it's the tallest building in the world. More than just a building, this tower manages, despite its height, to remain stable in the face of the strong gusts of wind that can hit the city. Basha Kassab heads up the Burj Khalifa Quality Control Team. Basha travels to the top of the building to reveal how engineers designed this urban feat so that it resists violent gusts of wind.
Yeah, so this lift is 10 meters per second, 2.5 floors per second. You can actually try to keep up with, we are already there. You will feel that pressure difference on your ears. It's like you're taking off with a plane.
At almost 1 kilometer from the ground, the view is impressive. And the wind is even more powerful, as at this height, no obstacles hinder it. The secret of this skyscraper that resists violent winds lies in its architectural shape. Built in the shape of a Y, the building constantly deflects the wind, whatever direction it's blowing from. Aside from its shape, the Burj Khalifa Tower is under constant round-the-clock surveillance. Hundreds of sensors on the facade transmit the wind speed and direction in real time.
This is the brain of our building. This is the actual building movement at this very moment. Today is a windy day. We're hitting a wind speed of roughly 32 kilometers an hour. And as you can see, the building is moving roughly 10 centimeters to this direction. It acts like a large sail. The building do move when there is wind, and the building can tolerate a movement of up to 2 meters to any direction due to wind.
In the event of a storm, and in order to ensure the safety of the tower's occupants, a safety protocol has been implemented.
The system is fully automated. So, for example, when the wind speed crosses a certain threshold limit, the lifts will slow down. And if it increases beyond a certain limit, it will go and stop with a signage on the screen saying that it is too windy now. That's why the lifts are stopped momentarily. The maximum movement we have received due to wind so far recorded at 30 centimeters.
The wind is a real threat to the people of Dubai. While skyscrapers must remain stable, the glass facades must also resist the powerful winds. To ensure the safety of the thousands of people who occupy these towers every day, engineers are working on facades able to withstand anything nature throws at them. That's the aim of curtain wall testing at an astonishing open-air laboratory. In this wind tunnel, built to study the resistance of facades to extreme meteorological phenomena, the walls undergo all kinds of tests.
Today we are testing the facades for their ability to resist air infiltration and water penetration. So we are going to check how it performs when we do a water test, a dynamic water test, and a structural load test to check how it will resist the wind and how it will resist the rain. So basically they are exterior envelope of building. They are non-load bearing, so they do not support the building structure. They only carry their own weight, and they have to resist the wind as a load.
To carry out this test, technicians will use a rather unusual device, this old aircraft engine. They position the engine a few meters from a facade panel to study the impact of wind and water on the glass. This engine, when activated, can reproduce gusts of up to 145 kilometers per hour.
Usually here in Dubai, we will have like maybe one storm during a year that comes with rain and wind. And after that, we get many calls like if there is a leakage or something like that. So it is very important to test in order to avoid any problems during this type of storm. We will look at all these joints. We have to look for leaks and we make sure that there aren't any droplets of water. So in case anything comes in, then the designer has to look at the way that these components are put together and try to make it better so that it doesn't allow any water to come in.
For 10 minutes, the powerful wind produced by the engine will exert extreme pressure on the glass facade. Buffeted by the gusts, the frame will start to vibrate. At the same moment, water is sprayed to expose any cracks. Here, safety must be absolute. Sandy Dwake and her team meticulously observe each nook and cranny of the facade. If the water manages to penetrate, it means there's a construction defect, a structural weakness. The engineers check one last time that the facade has not given way to the gusts of wind. Approved by the laboratory, in a few weeks this facade will grace a city centre skyscraper. Thanks to man's ingenuity, the Emirati managed to protect themselves from the rages of nature. But the aridity of these lands remains the biggest challenge that the country must face. The Emirates suffer from a serious water shortage. Yet natural reserves do exist. But what state are the water tables currently in? To explore these precious reserves of blue gold, it's necessary to travel north. Scattered across the route are geological phenomena related to water, like hoodoos. Natural columns and rock sculptures carved by the wind thousands of years ago. They are proof that a humid climate reigned in this region during the last ice age. After the desert of sand are the Al Hajar Mountains, an amazing place made of rock. This important mountain range of the Arabian Peninsula was born from the meeting of two continental plates. For scientists, every corner of this territory is a mine of information on the geological evolution of the Emirates. One of the researchers, a specialist in the history of the Al Hajar Mountains, is Khalid Al-Barouchi, a doctor in geology.
This Hajar Mountain divided in two main units. All the way to the north, close to the Hormuz Stairs, there are the highest, which can reach up to 2 kilometers. That are full of the sedimentary rock. So that's called Rus al-Jibal formation. And this, the other part, which we are in the middle of it, it's called Smail Ophiolite. The Smail Ophiolite is a section of the different layers of the rocks, which resulted from the two plates are attaching or coming to each other. So the mantle under the ocean, and the ocean crust come on the top of the continental crust, and resulted what we are seeing today.
While the formation of these mountains took place more than 100 million years ago, the Hajar landscape has never stopped evolving. For thousands of years, erosion has shaped these rocky mountains.
Geologically, recently happened 12,000 years ago, which was like the last ice age. So by melting this ice, it was a runoff of the water. And this water ran off through a pathway which we called it wadi.
Khaled follows the path of the wadis to investigate where the water is hiding today. Though this place of stone and rock seems hyper-arid, the landscape tells another story.
All indication is showing it was a river here, a huge amount of the water. If we can see to this melange, this high, 20, 30 meters melange, we can see boulders, these rounded boulders. This, when it's cut from the mountain, it has like an angular shape, any cutting from the mountain. So what's making it like taking this rounded shape? Because it moved. So imagine what's making all this melange, these materials, and moving it from place to place.
For a long time, this region was green and lush. Recent studies show that 2 million years ago, it was a very humid area. Rainfall was plentiful, waterways were numerous. Over time, temperatures have risen. The rivers and streams have dried up, but water hasn't disappeared completely.
As you can see, like here we have in central area where all the wadis are gathering here at this point. So that's why this dam has been built here, to catch all these wadis and run off water. So that's why they are keeping this water just to prevent the groundwater from the evaporation. So this water is work like a shield on the top of the surface to prevent the groundwater from evaporation.
This nature reserve is the only surface water basin in the United Arab Emirates, a treasure for a country that faces extreme aridity. Under the rock, at the heart of the mountains, a vast network of 1,000-year-old man-made canals, several hundred kilometers long, distributes water to the whole region. A few kilometers from the reserves lies one of these underground tunnels.
This is called Falaj. Falaj is like an old irrigation system, more than 3,000 years. So see, it's a smart way to bring the water from the source all the way here to inland areas. Sometimes these Falaj can reach up to 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, and in other places, it can go all the way to 20 kilometers.
In this tunnel, close to the aquifer, the water appears abundant. Yet tens of kilometers further down, at the foot of the Hajar Mountains, some wells connected to this huge underground distribution network are dry. For Khaled al-Blouchi, the exploration of these age-old falages is essential to the management and the preservation of the country's water reserves. One of his students has a mission to inspect the condition of these tunnels.
Khalifa,
Captain,
how was it?
was good.
Good.
Was amazing trip for us. Little bit hard because further we are going close to the city, is going smaller, and we have to crawl. And there is no water at all.
No water, no any wetness.
There is some wetness in the places, but there is some materials, they put it on the ground, so the ground will not suck the water. And there is so many guana, so it's sucking the water, making it dampness, so there is so many cockroaches.
Okay, no any, have you go to the, closer to the mountains, to the other side?
No, the other side is very small. So I don't know how people, they build it.
Wow. And how much distance you crossed?
Almost 3 kilometers, but the problem is going zigzag. I will show you now.
والله الارتفاع عالي.
See, some places are getting very wild.
It's a huge work, yes.
Huge.
Figure out 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. No that equipment, drilling equipment, nothing. I think more work should be done. And there is similar system to the north in Al Qawain. There is also in Hatta, Al Ain. Have you seen those?
When I went inside, I saw some tunnels taking me through the wadi, and I think they are contact together. So I think it's going under the wadi to the other ones.
Okay. So it will be easier and interesting.
Yes.
We will see. We will see in future.
At the beginning of the 1960s, the Emirates' 90,000 inhabitants discovered that their country was sitting on gigantic oil wells. Very soon, the country was transformed. Thousands of foreigners from all over the world moved in. And to meet the need for water, the authorities dipped into the Hajar Mountain groundwater. Today, the country has over 9.5 million inhabitants, and the consumption of water per day per resident is more than 500 litres, around 60% more than in France. City infrastructure is water guzzling. Hundreds of skyscrapers are all equipped to combat the heat, which can rise to 50 degrees Celsius. This high demand in water has all but exhausted the water tables. So, in an attempt to preserve these natural reserves, the country turned to seawater desalination, a costly, energy-intensive solution that uses fossil fuels, leading to carbon being released into the air. Aware that this form of drinking water production wasn't sustainable, the authorities found a surprising solution: cloud seeding. This is the Meteorology Center in Abu Dhabi. Every morning, engineers observe the sky, looking for clouds they can induce to rain.
We can see a northwesterly flow. The wind speed over the Arabian Gulf reaches 25 knots.
Yeah, actually, the idea is coming because we are kind of rare of rain droplets. So our target is to have as much rain we can help to secure the water resource, because the water resource is one of the important rule in life. And generally, that's the idea of the cloud seeding, actually. So these flares are combined with, we call it salt, because the salt is really a good absorber of the humidity. Even as an experimental, you can just put the salt outside. You're gonna see it's like become a really tough piece of salt, you know? That's the idea. So what we do, we target the updraft through the aircraft. We fly the aircraft and we start burning the flares where the updraft is located, because the updraft, what's gonna happen is gonna suck all the material inside the cloud, is going to mix with the cloud, so the small rain droplets is going to be really big rain droplets and it's going to fall to the ground. That's the idea, and that's how the concept of cloud seeding and what we do in cloud seeding generally.
The goal of these meteorologists is to make rain fall on command. They scour the sky for any sign of clouds to target. In the air, planes are already operational and awaiting engineers' instructions.
Actually, we do have right now aircraft. It's in the east side of UAE, because if you look at this area, there is some cloud over here. So what's happening, the cloud is moving this way. So we are trying to fly this area to make sure that we study the area and we know what type of cloud over there, and we can benefit and seed it for us.
06 operation.
Please, Captain, take this new location 02567 nautical mile.
Copy that, I'm already here and
Okay, when you reach there, please burn 4 flares, please. 4 flares.
I'm managing myself. I've already burned a 10 flare.
Okay, Captain, take your time and manage yourself.
In the air, these flares disperse salt crystals into the heart of the clouds to chemically force them to rain. This process, which aims to manipulate the climate, has divided the scientific community, as its impact on man and the environment is still unknown. Each year in the United Arab Emirates, 120 cloud seeding operations are launched. According to official figures, this program costs 60 times less than seawater desalination and boosts precipitation levels by 20%. But this is a country hit hard by the climate crisis. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the region's temperatures will increase by 2 degrees Celsius by 2040. Faced with this climate emergency, the Emirates are looking for a greener future, less dependent on fossil fuels. This new policy has spawned new projects like Masdar City. Currently under construction, this city, which should be home to 50,000 by 2030, wants to set an example in bioclimatic architecture. The streets are narrow to channel the hot air from the desert. The facades of the buildings filter the heat, but not the light. And gigantic traditional towers produce fresh air. This city of the future will produce its own energy thanks to the sun. Though Masdar City is still only at the development stage, other programs are already in place, and one of them gets rid of all the climatic constraints. In the Emirates, food travels an average of 4,800 kilometers. One man, Omar Al-Yundi, has decided to defy nature by creating the first farm 2.0 on the outskirts of Dubai.
As a region, we have many issues and problems, and we cannot grow our food. And if we do, it's only for a limited period of the time. And this is why we import 80% of our fruit and vegetable requirement. So when I discovered hydroponics and we could grow now with no soil, recycle water, we can grow indoors. This to me was, like when the bulb went off, in my head, like this is our solution.
This farm of just 1,250 square meters produces 200 crates of vegetables daily.
So we could produce 1,000 heads of lettuce per day. So we grow here all type of leafy greens. We're focused on basils. For example, this is Italian basil variety. And we sell it in the microgreen format. And we do mints, we do lettuces, really any type of leafy green. Because you're giving the plants the perfect optimal environment. Now we can grow all these varieties that were never available in this part of the world.
Omar also cultivates hybrid varieties from 2 different cultures. Crosses made without chemicals because the production cycle is completely controlled.
Now we are going to the packing area. So once we're done with the farm, this is the packing area. So we pack our products and we sell them as a living product. We put them in boxes and that's how we sell them, as a living product. So they stay fresh. They can last as long as possible.
Though this vertical farm may become the new form of agricultural production in the Emirates, it's still an energy-intensive solution.
We do require a lot of energy to light up these LEDs, but in a region where we've got sun all year round, through solar panels, and we could produce renewable energy, that lights up the facility. So we're using a sustainable solution and taking advantage of our habitat and environment.
While all these projects tend to offer a greener future, the United Arab Emirates have also realized that protecting the existing environment is a necessity for the country's future. A conservation program for nature reserves has been launched. Among these projects is the Al Mahar Reserve. 25 years ago, the authorities discovered an immense water table under this ocean of sand. They want to exploit this water to preserve the local flora and fauna, but this time without repeating past mistakes. The water drawn must be totally recycled. To finance this costly project, the Emiratis built a luxury hotel complex. And it is the poolside villas costing almost 10,000 euros a night that enable the reserve to reintroduce animal species under threat and to acquire a water reprocessing system. Here, every drop that's used is recovered.
So over here we have the two tanks. One tank over here is where we pump up the raw water from underneath the ground from about 30 meters down. On a daily average, we use anything between 400 up to 600 cubic meters per day. So we take the water from a water aquifer, send it towards a recycling plant where it gets recycled through reverse osmosis. We also add a little bit of chlorine as well to make it more suitable for human consumption. It gets pumped into a holding tank as well, and from this tank it will get pumped in towards the rest of the villas where guests will essentially use it. From the guest villas, once it's used from there, it will get pumped back in towards the recycling tank, and from there it will go in towards the irrigation. Then from the irrigation, it will filter through the sand, rejoin the water aquifer, and that's where the whole process is restarted again.
It was in the 1990s that hydrologists discovered the Al Mahar Water Reserve. At that time, this place was a desert. And the oryx, the emblematic animal of the Arabian Peninsula that occupied these areas, is endangered. Through this aquifer, thousands of trees are planted and water points are created so the animals can return to their natural habitat. The operation is a success. Certain species like the desert lynx, snakes, or the desert fox are returning to occupy their lands, but still no trace of the oryx. Reserve officials turned to the United States for help as they took in several dozen oryx in the 1970s. 7 of them were repatriated by plane to the United Arab Emirates and reintroduced to Al Mahar with the mission of repopulating this desert. 20 years later, 500 oryx are living on this reserve, but the reintroduction remains fragile. Every day, the team ensure that water is available in large quantities for all the animals on the reserve.
So this watering hole we're looking at right now was built by our conservation department. And in order to sustain our oryx population on this reserve, we need to supply them with adequate water on this reserve as well.
From this ecological policy, and thanks to this program to preserve natural resources and to recycle water, the Al Mahar Reserve has managed to save species on the verge of extinction. A model that the country wants to replicate in other regions in order to transform the arid desert into a place for both man and the local wildlife to live.
I do believe that the solutions and initiatives that we've implemented at Al Mahar and successfully implemented over here can be implemented on a global scale with the correct technological support, initiative, innovation as well. It can definitely have a positive effect on the environment and also the economy as well.
In this country that faces extreme natural conditions, nothing would be possible without this precious natural resource, water. So protecting this blue gold must now be an ecological priority in order to preserve our planet for future generations.